I think I'm just gonna keep recording these all in one day just because I'm feeling on a roll after the previous two from yesterday. Um, so I'm just gonna do it all at once and then save them as drafts so that it's easier for me to post, and then that might actually give me some time to work on some other things. Um, Maybe some more actually interesting projects on this little overarching project. Um, so this next one is Munchkinism and min-maxing aren't a problem with the game, they're a problem with the players. And I feel that is absolutely true. Any system I have ever played, I have also had someone at the table who is absolutely just a munchkin about it. They have been min-maxing their character to the point where it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, to be fair, I don't mind min maxing if the whole party agrees. Like, yeah, we're gonna min max our characters just so they can do exactly what we want them to do, the best that they possibly can do it. But for the most part, those same players who are like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna be doing this just because, um, also are doing it because they have a very specific mindset of how they want to be able to role play their character, and they just want the dice to agree at all times with their character's ability to do those things. For example, I had a player who really like absolutely tweaked out their character to be able to craft all items, which also meant that they basically had all knowledge on monsters pretty reliably and a lot of other things. And the whole point of this character was he was supposed to be a very knowledgeable individual who was very skilled with his magic and could craft any item that the party ever wanted, because that's all he ever wanted to be. Um, and I allowed it because, it actually contributed quite a bit to the party and made the game experience more fun for the rest of the players, because now we don't really have to guess about some of the more important things in this fight. We know what we can use and what we can't use, and then occasionally we still get hit with a nasty surprise because that monster is particularly strong, and even his crazy rolls couldn't get much more than like one piece of information out of it. But they could also say like, hey, we want these magic items for our characters, and all it takes is time and half as much money to craft, and that was fine. The problem I find is when people are robbing the other players of fun. For example, I in my Scion campaign where I played Barry, I don't have a art piece up anymore, unfortunately. I would show it just to kind of show, but where I played Barry, a Scion of Apollo, there was a player who did in fact want to be the one who is absolutely in control of the flow of the game at all times. And he also did this in another game that we played that was Vampire the Masquerade. Um, Particularly, there were times when my Malkavian, who was established as he can hear the table talk and he can do with it as I please, because my GM trusted me not to metagame, especially after this one event where I could have metagamed entirely just to save my character's life and decided, no, I'm not going to do it. Do with him what you will. And they decided to take mercy on the character. And from that point on, I was basically given full permission to, if I really wanted to, metagame based on what people were saying at the table, because they knew I wouldn't try to do it to rob the experience from other people. I would do it to enhance the scene in that moment. Um, so, um, this player would often try to influence my character by telling me to do certain things in the table talk, and I would always ignore his voice when he was doing it unless it was a really hilarious idea and I wanted to see how it panned out. Simply because that's also a form of min-maxing and munchkinism, is trying to also alter what the other players are doing and what the other characters are doing for the greatest benefit of your own character. And that is where it is really the problem in my book. And I will tell people like, hey, you have to remember that there's other people at the table who are trying to have fun, and what you're trying to do right now is not going to allow them to have that fun. I appreciate what you're trying to do. I appreciate what you want to achieve, but like, don't just stop. Like, or I will stop inviting you to this table. Um, thankfully in the last like few years, I've never had to let anyone know like, hey, you're being a little too min-maxy. I did have one person who I invited to the table, but this was, oh, I think this was pre-pandemic. No, it had to be pre-pandemic. They wanted to play a character and a specific race of that character and received none of the penalties of playing that race while also receiving a lot of the benefits. And they were trying to use low level items that were absolutely cheap and worthless to like fully negate some high level penalties. And I at some point the disagreements just got so severe that like they stormed out of the table because it was like, well, dude, I'm trying to make a role play experience, and you're trying to just do dice numbers, and you're not actually interacting with anyone at the table in any way, shape, or form other than throwing your numbers around. So don't do that. So yeah, it's not a problem with the game, it's a problem with the player. So just remember that if you're having a problem with someone who is being that problem player, it's not the game's fault, it's not the GM's fault necessarily. And you should feel like you're able to talk about it with the rest of the table. And if you're the GM, you should feel like you're able to put your foot down and be like, hey, this is kind of ruining it for everyone else. Please tone it down or stop, or just don't like, don't be that guy or gal. Don't be that person, because this is we're doing this for fun. So anyway, be excellent to each other, be excellent to yourselves, and I will see you at the next one.